Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to my channel. Today, I have a special guest, my friend Caitriona. Hi, Caitriona. How are you?
Hi everyone. Hi Jasmina. Thank you for having me on. As always, I love chatting astrology with you.
Absolutely. It's been a long time since Katrina and I talked. We did talk about celebrity charts before, but today we are having a more serious subject because Saturn is involved. So, as many of you who follow us know, that this year is full of changes. So, the upcoming change, the big one, is Saturn entering Aries and leaving Pisces. That will occur on May 24th, and he will stay in Aries for 2 or 3 years, I think, until 2028, April 2028. So it's going to be an interesting ride. Why I wanted this video with Caitriona separately, because Neptune also moved to Aries, and we are always talking about this Neptune Saturn conjunction, Neptune Saturn, but Neptune will move on, and Saturn will still be in Aries for without Neptune for a long time. And I think we need to talk about it as well and prepare everybody for this. So, Caitriona, welcome again. Thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit. What do you feel this in general? What this Saturn in Aries will? What do you expect for the next 3 years for us?
Yeah, I'm excited for Saturn and Aries. I think because of Neptune's ingress into Aries, Saturn is like the tough taskmaster who will stay on top of Neptune and keep us all in check. Because without Saturn,
Mhm.
we can sometimes lose the run of ourselves, particularly in the house that Neptune is transiting. So I'm really grateful that Saturn's going to keep us all grounded in that part of our life. Like collectively, Saturn and Aries, there's going to be huge themes around all Aries topics like
Mhm.
leadership and new beginnings and initiating things in life. And because Saturn is in fall in Aries, what we're going to see is a lot of frustration, collective frustration. And we're also going to see a lot of um, imposter syndrome come up and a lot of
Mhm.
issues around leadership. And particularly, we're going to see the manifestation of weak leadership and strong leadership and
Mhm.
what that means, and what inaction and action, how they're both very powerful, that sometimes doing nothing is as powerful as doing something. And we're also going to definitely see a move towards slowing down a little bit because the pace of everything has sped up since
Yeah.
Jupiter entered Gemini, and we have Uranus now coming for Gemini as well. So I think Saturn is going to try and slow
Mhm.
down certain things in our life, and just globally as well. There might be a return to slow living. There might be a return to just more mindfulness, and also I would see a move from kind of the we to the me, the
Mhm. Yeah.
collective to the individual, and to more of a self-centric or self-oriented kind of
Mhm.
mindset
Mhm.
rather than thinking about other people. And also, we know that Saturn loves to be in the sign of Libra. So, what is Saturn and Libra teaching us? Diplomacy and being measured and being
Mhm.
considerate of other needs. So, surely Saturn and Aries is going to show us not the merit of being inconsiderate, but the cause and effect of being inconsiderate of other people, and what happens when there is no diplomacy, and what happens when
Mm.
countries become very like, well, me first, our own citizens first. We're going to see
Mm.
a lot of that. And
Yeah, it's very military. I
a lot of
feel it's like, yeah, military aspect a lot. Saturn and Aries, a lot about putting
yeah,
structures, and I feel
military.
it. Yeah,
Investment in military. That's a very
yeah.
good point, Jasmina. And also maybe kind of consequences of investing in military. Because
Mm.
anytime, you invest in weapons, it creates tension. And anytime you create, you build walls, you've got increased tension.
Mm.
Anytime you increase the funding for your army, you're increasing the tension globally. So the cause and effect. And also we will see a lot of people get disillusioned with working for other people, and they'll want to be self-employed and
Mm.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But the only problem with this is that we can't all be entrepreneurs. And with Saturn, he's not going to make it easy. He's going to make it difficult. Only the people that are very disciplined, very hardworking, and willing to face their fears, only the people that are like the top of their game are going to have success in entrepreneurial or startups. We're going to see a lot of startups start and fail, unfortunately,
Mm,
because Saturn and Aries, you learn more through failure than you do with success
yeah.
with Saturn and Aries, because this is a sign that experiences a lot of roadblocks around initiating and starting things.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I feel that the one of the biggest lesson for all of us is going to be patience, because Aries is very impatient, very we want to do the things quickly and fast and right now and immediately. It's always think about toddler energy. I want this chocolate now, and the tantrums of a 2-year-old, right? That's for me, it's kind of
Yeah,
Aries, and
totally.
yeah, Saturn will kind of say, no, no, wait, not the time, not now, not this
Yeah.
way. Have
Delayed
your veggies first.
gratification.
Yes, yes. Eat your veggies first, then chocolate.
Yes, and I think as well, we'll see with Saturn and Aries, we're definitely going to see a bit of a lone wolf syndrome because, people who have this natally, and I want to chat a little bit about that.
Yes.
If you've
Yep.
incarnated with Saturn
Yep.
and Aries, something about your ability to be yourself, to just express your ego in its purest essence is thwarted a little bit by Saturn from birth, because Aries is really symbolic of our ego. That's why the sun is exalted in Aries, because there's a very clear sense of, I know who I am. But people that are born with Saturn in Aries, there's a little bit of, I'm not sure who I am. I don't know who I am. And a little bit of elders, particularly parents, telling them who they are or telling them who they aren't from an early age, so that they develop a sort of imposter syndrome, and there's always generally a lack of confidence that Saturn and Aries, they tend to hide, because Saturn will keep things hidden, and lots of hidden insecurities, and that they might feel they have to work very hard to overcome,
Yeah.
and it can manifest as intense lone wolf syndrome then.
Yeah, I feel the fear of being authentic, fear of showing your true face, like being afraid to show it because it can backfire. So that's where the secrecy also comes in, not being able to be yourself in the way that you want to.
Yeah, I think deep down, if we get really close to the bone, because Saturn does like to go to the bones, if we get close to the bone with Saturn and Aries, there is this innate fear in the Saturn and Aries person that if they knew who I really was, they wouldn't love me. And this is what they have to overcome, because the Saturn and Aries person is very lovable, but they create this kind of self-imposed prison that they feel that they sometimes have to wear a mask, or that they can't, they sometimes even hide their anger. Anger is
Yeah.
very
Oh,
heavy.
yeah. Suppressed anger with this. A lot of suppressed anger. I don't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like they feel that if they express their anger, or they have experiences in the past when they did express anger and there were serious consequences, because there's always consequences with Saturn. So their fire, and fire in the elements really represents confidence and
Yeah.
vitality. That is kind of a little bit suppressed by Saturn and
Yeah.
held back.
And motivation, inspiration, motivation, the drive, what keeps us moving. It's kind of like, because maybe we're going to be hesitant more because we are going to be, fear of failure, fear of success. Both fears are going to be, I think, with this Saturn.
Yes.
But Saturn, I need to mention the positive side. Saturn is our master in a way. So we can learn self mastery if we put the hard work in it. And Aries is a risk taker, but if we take calculated risks, then Saturn will approve those. So it's like we have to kind of find the middle ground. But it's very similar, because I have Saturn Mars conjunction in my chart, so it's very similar, like Saturn and Aries, not the same but very similar. And frustration is number one, because you really want to go, but then delay, blockage, not now, not this way, wait, oh my, and you just go. I think that's the sense of and then okay, I need to put time and hard work in it, and then that's how you cure the frustration and just delayed gratification. That's number one. And by
Yes.
the way, your microphone is, I think, something, so don't move your hands a lot, I think, because your
Okay.
sound is breaking up. I want people to hear you. Okay.
And I find as well with Saturn in Aries that there is a bit of an identity crisis. There's not trusting the self, not feeling good
Mm,
enough. They are secretly competitive and they are secretly very disciplined because one thing
mm,
Saturn teaches them, you want to be good, you want to be the best, you want to win. Well, you're going to have to be disciplined. I'm not going to make it easy for you. You're going to have to
yeah,
work at it.
yeah, yeah.
And I see a lot of people with Saturn in Aries go to the gym a lot. Or I see a lot of
Mm,
people with Saturn and Aries, work very hard in their businesses and nothing comes easy to them, but they do have success, but it doesn't come quickly.
yeah,
And there is a mindset sometimes with Saturn and Aries, oh, he or she could do that, but I could never do that. And this is what they have to
yeah,
overcome.
mm,
This
yeah,
imposter syndrome mindset that kind of
yeah, yeah.
follows them around.
Comparison. Before you continue, I just want to say hi to Misbehaving. Hello. She says she has a Sag, Sun, and Moon with Libra rising. Very, yeah. So she sees, oh, it's very early Sagittarius, so she will feel this soon. Yeah, that's a nice trine. That's a lot of, when Saturn is in a good aspect to your natal planets, I feel it gives you that self discipline with ease.
Mm,
Unless it's so I think it's a good thing.
yeah. Yeah, it will be nice, but I do think Saturn in an angular house is always like an interesting one. It's very personal, very
Yeah.
personal. And I find when Saturn opposes the ascendant, that sometimes, if you want to
Mm,
get on a weight loss journey or you want to
mhm.
get fitter, Saturn can be like, right, it's time to work out, time to like lose weight. He can be like that sometimes when he's on the angles. I've also noticed with Saturn and Aries individuals, there is a kind of a fail again, fail better. Like they need to
Mm,
overcome the fear of failure. And they need to remember as well that like Aries, what is Aries' strength? Aries' strength is its fearlessness.
yeah.
And
Boldness.
they need to, all Saturn and Aries natives need to choose at least one fear that they want to conquer maybe every year. Now, I say every year
Mm,
because with Saturn, you can't take on a load of fears.
yeah.
Even if, let's say, they have a fear of public speaking, they say, okay, this year I'm going to overcome my fear of public speaking. Or next year, I'm going to overcome my fear of, I don't know, going on holiday on my own or whatever. Now, having said that, a lot of Saturn and Aries natives tend to do lots of things on their own anyway, because they have been instilled with this belief from an early
Mm,
age, whether it's true or not true, it's their perception that, if I rely on other people, they tend to let me down. It's easier to be
yeah, yeah,
self-reliant. And it's learning
yeah.
to reach out and ask for help and to know that like connections and relationships are
Mm,
complicated. There's compromises, give and take. And Saturn and Aries native is really here to learn about that. Relationships is a big one for them.
yeah. And timing. I was just thinking about timing, because Aries wants to do everything fast and Saturn wants to do everything slow. There's going to be delay in timings. So people are going to feel that they're not aligned, that they're always,
Yes.
oh, this is the wrong time for this, the wrong timing, a sense of
Yeah.
wrong timing. I think it's going to be very emphasized as well.
Yeah, definitely. Timing will be a big thing for
Yeah.
them in life. But I think a big thing for Saturn and Aries, and for Saturn in any fire sign, is learning to trust your intuition and to
Mm,
follow it from time to
yeah.
time. Because Aries really is the fire of intuition, doesn't think too much, but Saturn and Aries can kind of tend to
Mm,
overthink and go into this analysis paralysis and get into a phase of inaction where they do nothing or they take
mm,
action too quickly and there's awful consequences or they delay their action. So it's kind of learning about when to strike when the iron is hot and weighing up, as you said, the
mhm.
calculated risk.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I always feel about Aries. They don't do authority very well. They just don't care. about
No,
authority.
and even
So
you told me there to stop moving my hands, and I just realized I was doing it like without even thinking. Sorry,
no.
hope my sound is a bit better.
Yeah, I do that. I think you're going in and out. So it's like,
Oh,
uh, I don't know why. It's like it's loud and then silent, loud, silent. I can still hear you, but it's that feeling. Yeah, authority. Yeah, so I think it's going to be clash with authority in general, with individuals, a lot. I like not giving any more BS for everybody. Just do you think it's
yeah.
going to be more protests now or less?
Well, with Pluto in Aquarius
Yeah.
and Saturn in Aries, I would say there's going to be consequences for every action you take, every action and inaction. So that's not to say that
Mm,
like going to a protest is bad or not attending a protest. I think there's going to be lots of energy of maybe regrets,
mm,
with Saturn and Aries. Oh, I should
mm,
have, or I should have done this, or I should have done that. Um, but yeah, I potentially do. I do think that with Pluto and Aquarius, because it's such a kind of an outer generational planet, I do see that the the protesting movement and the
mm,
energy of the collective getting more vocal. I do see that continuing to expand and grow, but I do also see there being probably severe consequences for some people maybe who participate in protests, and then it's
mm.
found out later, maybe by their employer or by the state, that they participated in a protest.
Yeah, I do feel that there is a lot of opportunity. I agree with everything you said. I think it's going to be a lot of opportunity for change, one way or another. It just maybe needs to be more structured. And I think we as people who protest or do something, that we're going to need to be just more organized or more structured in the way we do it, not just randomly. Because, Saturn, it will sextile Pluto, as you mentioned, will sextile Uranus and Gemini, will be in the same sign as Neptune. So we have this kind of a more positive, let's say, aspects on a global level. And I feel that we just need to be aware of the consequences, or make it more structural. And
Mhm.
so that's just in general my thought on this general
Yeah,
things.
I think you're right. It'll be interesting to see, how it turns out. But I do think there will be a
Mm,
lot of people having these collective kind of identity crises. Who am I? What am
mhm,
I doing? What's my purpose? What's my calling? And a lot of people
mhm.
will turn to astrologers because they'll want to know, tell
Yeah.
me who I am, tell me what my purpose is, why am I here? Why am I going through suffering? All of these questions they might want answered. I see you
Mhm.
typed my name in wrong, Caitriona Astro.
I saw that. I didn't want to say anything because I know you're
Oh, Jasmina, how could you let my Mercury square Pluto go
I
live with that?
no, I love it. It's just the way things are. It's the for it's it's not about a form, guys. It's about what we say. So we, focus on the
This is
subject
this
of.
is this is a perfect example of Saturn in Aries. My name is spelled incorrectly.
It's okay.
I was rushing to get live because my computer, my MacBook. Of course,
Yeah.
we are going live when the new moon was exact, and it was just
Yes.
impossible to get anything to work
This is just,
for me.
well,
And
Mars
the
Pluto
moon
is
told
opposite.
my sixth house. I don't know why I scheduled the live for today.
Well, it's all for the best. It's good.
Yeah, I
We
really
have.
hope the sound will be okay anyway afterwards, because I'll have to redo it. I hate, like, I have an awful issue. I don't have Saturn and Aries, but I have an awful issue with things not being a high standard when I create them.
Yeah, that's why I do lives. You don't have to edit anything. This is just spontaneous. Anyway, uh,
The Gemini chaos, you see, is so good for me, yet triggers me massively.
is that your shadow sign? Now that we are, is Gemini your
No,
shadow sign? No, no, no. It was
Aquarius,
Matt.
Aquarius and Taurus,
Aquarius.
but I
Oh yeah,
love
yeah, Chris.
Geminis. It's just
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I need Geminis to balance me out.
yeah, yeah. It's in your seventh house. I know. Okay,
Mhm.
so what I want to talk about as well, because Saturn is about maturity. So, and this is Aries is about our who we are, our individuality in first house, who we are. So, do you think that maybe this is a good aspect for us to mature? Like,
Um, yes, and I also think we're going to see a lot of people do work to their face Okay. And I
Oh, yeah.
don't think it's a good idea to go at your face. Saturn is in Aries. Well, I don't think it's a good idea to fight Saturn in general. I think
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
that's my personal belief. But then I'm young. It's easy for me to say that I'm young. So, I have the privilege of
Yeah.
being young. But when you do anything to your head or your face while Saturn is
Mm.
in Aries, there's going to be consequences. Also, I would
Mm.
see, people need to be very careful with sport and their head. We'll see
Yeah.
concussions. We're going to
Mhm.
see serious head injuries. Unfortunately, this is just the astrology. You really need to be careful with your head if you have Aries placements
Mm.
natally, or if you're an Aries rising. You do, like, I wear a helmet when I ride my bicycle, even though I hate the helmet. It's ugly. It doesn't do anything for me. But I know I have an Aries moon, so I know I need to wear a helmet. And because I know what happens to Aries moons who don't wear their helmets, and I know what happens to Aries suns who don't wear their helmets. My
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
father has a strong Aries in his birth chart. I can't tell you the amount of head injuries he's had in his
Oh
life.
my,
And he's had so many concussions. He's fallen off horses, and
oh my
not
God.
wearing helmets, I might add. So, if you have any Aries placements, just be mindful of that.
Yeah, that's very good. Before we go talk about for each sign, rising sign, I want to share Ingress chart. So I want to your opinion because I always find it interesting that we.
You're
Okay.
gonna see me squint now because I'm on my phone.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So
Okay.
talk me through it, Jasmina. What have we got? Is it
Okay.
Aries on the ascendant?
No, no. So I put the zero Aries
Oh,
chart.
sorry,
So
yes.
it's for the world. So disregard the houses. But it's interesting. There is no water that day in the sky, not so ever. So
Ooh.
isn't it interesting? We had all this Pisces energy, very strong. We were drowning in these deep waters for so long. All of a sudden, none,
Well,
none.
that straight away tells us that, we're going to have issues probably with heat and heat waves, I would imagine,
Uh huh.
for the
Uh huh.
transit of Saturn Aries. And we're probably going to have
Mm,
potentially water struggles as a result of extreme.
mm,
Because with Saturn and Aries, Saturn and
mm.
Pisces, we had issues with water. Saturn and Aries, we have issues with heat. Is it a new
Yeah.
story? No, it's a continuation of another story.
Mm,
If you didn't look after water. While Saturn was in Pisces, I installed a water filter in my kitchen sink and my shower. I was like, I'm going to drink really pure water. Now, while Saturn's in Aries, we need to start conserving water. We need to start
yeah.
gathering rainwater, because we're not going to possibly have water maybe to
Very
water.
smart. Yeah, yeah, very smart, especially because Leo is Mars is in Leo, ruling this Saturn at the time of the ingress. Another fire sign, another summer sign, peak of the summer. What is Leo? It's fixed summer. It's like the peak
Yes, and it's
of the heat.
also Mars and
Mm,
Leo. We've seen forest fires and dangerous fires
yes.
a lot of the time with Mars and Leo. So we need to be mindful of that.
Oh, yes, yes, that is true. And the moon is in Taurus at the time of the ingress, so that's lovely. At least
But
that's a good.
is the moon not getting bad aspects from Pluto?
It is square.
Yes, so there we're going to have issues growing food because of the lack of
Mm,
water, issues with food. And we know this is coming
mm,
anyway because Saturn is coming into Taurus in the next few years. So this is a precursor to all of that. It's the issue of
uh,
if you don't look after Mother Earth, there are consequences. And Saturn is coming for all of us. It's our collective responsibility to start becoming, we start growing our own food, to stop wasting food, and to start really caring for our environment and conserving things instead of wasting them.
yes, and do you know what this also backs up? Saturn is conjunct Neptune and Ceres. Ceres is about food and grains and nurturing. Exactly. So Ceres is going to be 2 degrees of Aries, Neptune 1, and Saturn 0. So
So
that's
farmers,
yeah.
people who sell
Yes.
grains, they need to really be careful. They need to diversify while Saturn's in Aries, because if this is your sole source of income, you will not be able to rely on it when Saturn's in Aries. And this is why I always say to people that multiple streams of income is smart.
Absolutely. And the only thing that I actually like, I mean, I like about this chart is that Mars, as a ruler of this ingress, is trining Venus. So there is, I think there's going to be some kind of rise of female leaders or female warriors or female leadership. I do feel that it's going to be.
And
I do feel it.
Venus
In,
is going
it's in
to be
Aries.
yes.
Sorry?
Venus will be in Aries.
Yes. So Venus is in Aries, and Mars is in Leo. And they have this beautiful trine. Because that's the only aspect that Mars actually makes that is strong. This is minor aspect, yeah.
So yeah, it definitely shows that there will be, Mars trine Venus is a lovely energetic exchange as well between male and female.
Yeah.
So it shows like that women are going to be a bit more empowered, I would imagine, and men might be a bit more. Men will come forward as maybe our allies or our supporters as well in that regard with that lovely trine from Mars to Venus.
I like that.
Yeah, and I also see with Mars trine Venus, energy that's supportive for people that are entrepreneurs and that do want to go out and launch businesses. But because, Saturn and Neptune will be co-present in Aries, you need to temper those dreams with a realistic business plan.
I'm just thinking, when we the other day you posted, I don't want to be political here, but you posted, that certain president is giving money for women to give birth. And I was thinking that, how this Mars in Leo is creative. Mars wants to give birth, wants to have children, and Venus, they're having a lovely trine in Aries. So maybe there's going to be, I don't know. I don't even want to go there because, with Aries, there's something to.
Yeah, we have to remember that Venus is fallen in Aries. So, women might think, maybe if there's vulnerable women who are maybe closer to the poverty line, they may think this is a great initiative, which it may look like on the surface. But America, unfortunately, is one of the few countries in the first world that does not provide mandatory paid maternity leave. So women do need to campaign for that. Because $5,000 is not enough. Your uterus is worth more, ladies. So ask for more money. Ask. And you know what? Mars is trining Venus. He may actually grant you what your wish.
Yeah. You're right. A lot of fixed energy for this ingress. So it's going to be whatever happens, like it's going to have a long-term impact, I feel. So think about that as well. And no water, that means that there's no sensitivity, no empathy. It's going to be very black and white. There's a lot of fire and earth. So, this is what it is.
And also maybe things happening fast as well. Fire. Things happen.
Yeah. With Leo, with Mars in Leo, when I think about fire and I think about fire signs, as you mentioned, Aries is the spark, but Leo is the fireplace. It's the long lasting burning fire that burn, it's fixed. It's never getting, so that's the problem. So when it starts, it's not, be mindful for that.
I think there will be a huge return to watching live sport as well. With Mars, Leo, trine Venus, it'll be really lucrative. And people will love in-person events again, and nothing beats going to a live concert, live sports event, Mars and Leo, where you can go and watch, showmanship.
Yes, absolutely. That's a good point. Okay. I know I'm going to be mindful of time. So let's talk about, okay, I'm going to do this.
Aries rising, I guess. Will we start with Aries rising?
But yes, but I'm going to do something, which I use my magical wheel.
Yes, I love your wheel from the last.
Yes. Yes. Just because it's good. I'm going to, so for Aries rising, you talk. I'm going to put Saturn here. And then
Aries rising, Neptune has ingressed into your first house, and this is kind of awakened some kind of a spiritual energy in you, and you might feel a bit more ungrounded even with Neptune now in your first house. But fear not, because Saturn is hot on Neptune's heels, coming in the end of May, and with Saturn coming into your first house, Aries rising, this can manifest as, a maturing transit, where you take increased responsibility for yourself, for your own life, and for your identity, and where you kind of start to take, you know, your identity in the world a bit more seriously. So if you are, you know, younger, it can be a real coming of age transit, Saturn through the first house. If you're older, Saturn in the first house is definitely one that can affect your body, in the sense that, you know, I wouldn't call it a transit where you age. I would call it more a transit where your body is kind of tested a little bit. You know, if you have been good to look after your body, you have nothing to worry about. But sometimes when Saturn goes into the first house, I see people lose weight because they're
Yeah.
working very hard. Saturn has them working very hard, or
Yeah.
they're really busy, or they're very stressed, or they're, you know, they may be experiencing, I wouldn't call this an ill health transit, but they may be experiencing, you know, so much activity in their life, or they may be on a kind of a new diet or a new regime that actually shrinks them, because Saturn restricts us. So that can happen. And there can also be a little bit of a lack of confidence when Saturn goes into the first house, but he's actually, what he's doing is he's strengthening you. Like he's kind of crystallizing your identity by making you question first who you are. And he may test you by sending some people into your orbit who show you who you are not.
I like that. I have to testify to this that like 15, 14 years ago when Saturn was in my first house in quadrant system, I definitely lost a lot of weight. I never looked better, to be honest. So it was really, really, excellent. So it really gives you discipline. I cut off all the bread and pastry. It was really good. Anyway,
That was
um,
a big deal for your cancer.
I know, no bread, imagine. Anyway, so this is a good opportunity. I like that. And I just put Uranus in the third and Pluto in the 11th to see these beautiful opportunities to connect with other people long term. I always want to like a positive spin on it, or to maybe learn something new, something from the third house, or to satisfy your curiosity. Um, I would watch with Saturn in the first house your skin. So take care of your skin. I think because it's so fiery. Watch out for burns, for burning yourself because you're fast. So burning yourself can be very and just I think you need to watch your skin. Lots of moisturizing, like that's something that I would.
And try not to rush around either,
Yeah,
Aries, right?
yeah,
With this one. And just be mindful that Pluto is in your 11th house for a long time. So
yeah,
all of the new individuals that are coming into your life, not all of them are savory. Some of them are
yeah,
unsavory. You'll get to
yeah.
know that, Pluto will push you to assert your
Mm,
boundaries, and Saturn will help
mm.
cement those boundaries. And you'll get very clear on who and what you're available for with this transit.
Yeah, you can be accident prone more than usual, just
Yeah.
because if you're gonna be frustrated, you wanted to do something, and Sandra will just stop you. So, very be mindful of how you do things, and no shortcuts. When Saturn does like shortcuts, so Aries likes shortcuts. Oh, I can go this way and be faster than this person, and then you're gonna stumble somewhere. So no shortcuts. Take the long known route. I know it's very hard. Aries likes to explore the new things, and I always think about Aries with Machetta going through the wild, and making new paths for people.
Yeah, I think
But
like don't take unnecessary risks, bodily risks. And even I would, if you're someone that even likes getting tattoos and things like that, I would be slow to do that, because with Saturn in Aries, you may regret that tattoo.
oh yes,
With Neptune, you're like, oh my God, it's my dream tattoo, especially if it's anywhere near your neck or your face. And
oh yeah,
then like it's like a bad haircut, but you're stuck with it forever.
oh
Like
yeah,
definitely maybe just stay away from the ink. It's just a few
yes,
years.
yes. Or if you do it, it has to be something that's not visible for anybody but you on your butt. That's it. I think it's going to be visible. Anyway, I want to ask you, because I know you're such a great karmic astrologer, and I'm going to use this opportunity to ask you a personal question because it's my channel and I can do it. Anyway, you're my friend. I was going to ask you anyway this because I have a South Node. I know many people who have South Node in Aries, and Saturn is coming because they're both karmic placements in your chart. South Node is past, release, and so when Saturn meets the South Node, what do you think that will bring?
I think it's going to bring in connections from your past life who will teach you things. And it will also trigger you things. And they mightn't be the most pleasant, Jasmina. But I hate to say that, but like I want to be honest. Like I think like it may trigger you. They may even be, they may manifest in the form of teachers that are actually not as competent as maybe you'd like them to be, or they could manifest as superiors that are not as competent as you'd like them to be, or they could be just superiors or teachers who hold you back or restrict you in some way, or who like cut you down or like cancel out your confidence a little bit. So I think with this, when Saturn's going over the nodes and you're having these nodal contacts and they're bringing in people or lessons or past life experiences, a good question to ask yourself, especially if anything negative manifests, is what are you trying to teach me here, Saturn? And if you listen hard, Saturn will always give you the answer if you're patient.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, I just use this space to do. But everybody who has a South Node in Saturn, this is very useful. Thank you, Caitriona. Okay, Taurus. Ooh, this is happening in the 12th house. What do you think?
Well, personally, in Placidus, I was born with Saturn in the 12th house, and I've always felt like really blessed to have Saturn rejoicing in my 12th house. He's in my first house in whole sign, unfortunately. But anyway, I digress. Saturn in the 12th house has one objective, I believe, and that is to destroy the fear of loneliness. Because the 12th house, the biggest fear here is the fear of death, the fear of what's beyond death, and the fear of emptiness that you find when you retreat and you're in solitude and you're away from everyone else. And I remember as a child I craved alone time and I never got it because I grew up in a house full of kids and all I wanted was my own space, and I wasn't given it with Saturn in the 12th house. And then when I got older, I went through a period of, being on my own, and it was like intense, soul destroying, soul crushing loneliness. And I was like, okay, Saturn, I get it. I get it. You wanted me to cherish solitude, and I did. I yearned for it. And then you gave it to me in such a volume that it almost broke me, so that I could see that I was able to manage it. Number one, that I was strong enough. And number two, that the fear of solitude is actually one of the greatest fears to overcome, because if you're happy to be on your own, you're pretty much invincible. If an apocalypse comes and everybody else is gone, if you've got Saturn in the 12th house, you will be okay. And I suppose for Taurus risings, Taurus risings are such, gentle, easygoing, affable, social creatures. I always find Taurus risings have such a lovely, gentle energy around them. And I find as well, because they've Pisces on the 11th house, they have a lovely, compassionate energy with their friends. And they lack boundaries, and they're very open. And Saturn, has been going through their 11th house, and they have experienced a level of loneliness that they're not familiar with. And unless they have Saturn in Pisces natally. And now that Saturn is coming from their 12th house, Saturn is really going to say to them, conquer the fear of loneliness, conquer the fear of solitude, so that you can be invincible, Taurus, when I come for your first house. This is the last fear to overcome almost. That's how I interpret 12th house transits.
Yeah. That is true. And for Taurus risings, they're like comfort, they're like material security and material comfort. And I think this is a kind of invitation, let's say, that they need to also embrace the other side of themselves, the spiritual side, the hidden things, right? That's things that are not, because they have a hard time relating to the things that they cannot see or touch or feel. This is, something that they cannot observe with their senses. That's the 12th house. So this Saturn and Neptune together, it's take a serious look at your spiritual life. Is this neglected? Maybe it can backfire if you're not nurturing your spirit, not just your body. I would add that.
Yes, and they're strongly intuitive as well, Taurus
Yeah.
risings. Even
Yes.
though they're a pillar of common sense, they have like
Yeah.
very quick intuition, but they don't always trust it because it's in the
Yes.
12th house. It's invisible to them. They just get a feeling and they're not sure if they should go with it. And I think they're going to learn to trust their intuition more with this transit.
Yeah. And don't do anything that you can end up in jail. Just telling you, don't steal that apple from the tree. Just because.
Yeah, it is a
yes.
kind of a retreating solitude. Sometimes we call it an extreme and imprisonment transit, but like this is only for the waywards and the delinquents. But
I know, but sometimes there's a shade. I think there's a 50 shades of gray. Then you do something that you're not aware of. It's maybe not 100% legal, or
and
just
the
want
thing
some.
is,
Yes.
the world is changing very fast. Governments
Yes.
are changing very fast.
Yes.
And we see extremism and we see the rise of the far right, and there are less rights for people now. We're seeing this, is particularly in America. We're seeing people, you can be put away without a trial. So yes, you want to be mindful, especially with Pluto on the 10th as well. There can be fall from grace.
Yeah. So just be careful. If you're 100% sure that it's okay, don't do it. That's what I would say.
And Pluto in the 10th is one that is really, really, people in power can abuse their power against you when Pluto is in the 10th house. You can feel very at the mercy of people in power, particularly your employers with this one.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good one. Well, there's the positive things as well. So there you can turn to spirituality and find the strength there, and maybe rest from material
and
false security, maybe.
It's a good time to learn to meditate as well.
Absolutely.
That will kind of mitigate a lot of the perceived negative energy. But Saturn does rejoice in the 12th house for a reason. So I do feel that, it will be an instructive period for Taurus risings.
Excellent. We'll leave it at a positive note and go to Geminis. Okay. 11th house. What do we see here?
Yeah, so with Geminis and the 11th house, the first thing I think of is, getting really, really serious about your hopes, goals, and dreams that you maybe have put on the back burner, or, that you've said, oh, yeah, I don't know about that. And if you want to publish anything, this is amazing energy for actually, following through with that and bringing it to life. But it's also the energy of a little bit of disillusionment and restriction around friends and groups. Sometimes, Geminis, because Geminis love social connection so much, they have lots of different groups of friends, but they lack sometimes a bit of discernment around, whether the friendship group is of a high quality. And Saturn and Aries will ask that. What is the caliber of your friendship group? Is it a high quality one? And with Neptune co-present, it can be the energy of some friends disappointing you. But, if you keep your eyes open with this transit, there aren't going to be major surprises, I feel, because Saturn will kind of open your eyes to anybody in your life that doesn't really maybe deserve a place in your inner circle. And you can push them to your outer circle and keep, your trusted confidants closer.
I like that. Watch out for online scams, just because Neptune is there, and because you'll be so fast, like you won't think, oh, this sounds so good. Gemini is like the brain, like, oh, this is so lovely, like a new flower. Oh, and then you do something, and then you get scammed. Not because or because you find that people, or you can idolize, somebody of authority with Saturn there, like somebody who is a leader of your group or something. Then you're like, oh my God, almost like a guru. But then Pluto is in the 9th, right? As you say. Yeah.
And I
So
also foresee, the growth, if you have a social media platform, the growth of
mm,
that platform, but then the consequences of the growth, and also the
mm,
boundaries around the growth. Are you going to be answering every DM every day? Because you need to have good
mm,
boundaries with your social media
mm.
platform if you have one.
Yeah, I mean, on the good side, Saturn here can be more mature in a way in looking into your friendships and then see, oh, which acquaintances are really friends and which are just acquaintances. So maybe you can define
Yeah.
the difference and then choose the ones that are here for the long term or who are there from you. So also a 7 year difference, you might make new friends that are older or younger 7 years than you. That's very often with I have in quadrant
Yes,
system.
definitely.
In Placidus I have Saturn in the 7th, in the 11th, and I can confirm that I have friends. I have rarely friends of my own age. They're literally older or younger, at
That's
least 7 years.
nice.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? So yeah, that can happen as well. So it can be a good thing. You can get more clarity on your friendships and your dreams. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, hi Myra. Nice to see you. Yeah, Myra is going to be my guest in a couple of weeks. She's going to talk about vocational astrology. So thank you for being here. It's my new guest. Anyway, let's go on. I think we should continue with Cancer risings. Let's see. This is for all cardinal signs. This is going to be more right because it's in the angular houses. It's going to be more effective. What do you feel?
Yeah, like I feel Saturn going through the 10th house. I think Saturn going through an angular house is not easy anyway.
Yeah.
With Neptune in the 10th house, it's the energy of all that glitters is not gold. We all aspire for our dream career, but the dream comes at a cost. It's a price. And it's Saturn will ask you, are you willing to pay the price? And you will also, you might have experienced a bit of burnout in your career because you
Mm,
actually become a victim of your own success with this one. It's lovely to be successful in your career, but success isn't everything. There's more to life than success, and it can be the energy of your cup it runneth over. Um, with Neptune and Saturn co-present. And it might just be as well, making a difficult decision in your career, or,
mm,
feeling either that, it could manifest as not having enough clients or work not going well, and you being very disillusioned, or you not being practical enough. Or it could manifest in the opposite way, as you being so successful that you don't physically have enough time for all of your
mm.
clients, and you get disillusioned because you're struggling to manage your time.
That's very, yeah, that's very interesting. I do feel authority issues here with authority with managers. Just because Saturn is there, you might be very impatient. You want that raise, you want that promotion, and bless you. Did you sneeze? Bless you.
Cough. I have the 100-day cough, guys.
Oh no,
Uranus,
Jesus.
Uranus in my 6th house.
Oh
Thanks.
boy. Oh boy. Well, I hope you get better soon. Yeah, so I think definitely issues with authorities, and then because you're going to be so impatient, and I think you will feel that you're a cardinal sign. You want to act on it. You want to, like, I deserve this, I earned it, and then nothing is happening. It'll delay. Oh, not now, not that's what typical what Saturn does. And I think just watch your mental health with Uranus in the coming into your 12th house. Watch the effect of all this, whatever you are doing, whatever decisions you're making. Just be mindful of your mental health. And Pluto is in your 8th house, so it can be either way. So if you need to do therapy or astrology reading or support from anybody in when this is happening, something specific, I think you should reach out and then maybe work on your empowerment in the next couple of years. How can you get control back and not giving power to others? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And I think pay attention to the transit of Mars as well if you're a Cancer rising, because your career will fluctuate and you'll have different
Yes.
ebbs and flows. When Mars is going through your fourth house, might be a time to schedule time off.
Mm,
When Mars is in your sixth house, it'll be a busier season. Mars in your
yes.
first house, all systems go. Mars in your fifth house, you might want to book a holiday. So
Yeah, yeah.
it might help you mitigate some of the harder
Mm,
aspects of Saturn through the 10th, and definitely have good boundaries with everyone in your career.
yes, I like that. Yes, say no. I don't want to take extra job. I don't want to take extra hours. No, thank you. Because you're very caring. You want to help. You want to be there for others. But maybe it's time to say no. That's a good one.
Yeah, say no to some opportunities,
Mm,
because if you say yes
yeah.
to every opportunity, you're going to
Mm,
reach inevitable burnout with this one.
I like that. Yeah. Hello, Candice. Nice to see you again. I love my astrology friends coming over. Uh, Excellent. Okay, Katrina, we are going to Leo rising.
Mm.
Hmm. In the ninth house. Will this shake up their beliefs of who they are in this
Yeah, I
world?
can definitely see Leo risings and Leos in general having a return to faith if they've lost their faith or questioning their faith, going back to God, going back to the church, going on an alchemist-like journey, having the desire to travel, yet also feeling like that there are blockages or delays to their dreams, or to their desires. They definitely might go on a long journey to find themselves. If they don't go abroad, I definitely see them embarking on new higher learning, higher education, or
Mm,
new training, learning some kind of something philosophical, and something that requires a lot of discipline and commitment. And
yeah,
it's
I
going
feel.
to be, yeah.
Mhm. I just
Go
want to
ahead.
add. I just to quickly add when you mentioned commitment is if you want to pursue that master's degree or PhD or get some kind of certificate, now it's the time, and because Saturn will give you this discipline to finish it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
definitely. He will give you the discipline to finish it. And there might be a little bit of disillusionment while you're doing it. Oh God, why did I start this course? Oh, it's so hard with Neptune there. But Saturn is like, keep going, keep going. Like it'll
Yeah.
be so worth it, because you have to remember, as a Leo rising, Saturn is coming for your 10th house. And he is
Mm,
coming to make some changes in your career that are for your growth and your highest potential. And he wants you to upskill now so that you can be ready for any changes or restrictions or anything you want to put into place in your career. It's always like a story for Saturn. So he's kind of laying the groundwork so you can build a house in 2 or 3 years, metaphorically
yeah.
speaking, in your
Yeah.
career.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it, and I like it. As you mentioned, if when there is a Leo season or a Sag season or a Aries season, it can be it can give you more. It can be more motivated, I think, to embrace
Definitely.
Saturn in those seasons during this transit. I like it. Uranus is also in the 11th, so there can be a connection with social media or some friends or something different,
Yeah.
unique, innovative that you're like a push from there.
Yeah.
Um,
Their network and the circles they move
mm,
in are shifting.
yeah, right. So that can be a change if you with the way your circle of friends shifts and your belief system might shift as well, and to how you see yourself in the world. Very
Mm.
interesting transit. Okay, Leos. Virgo risings, hit me, Katrina. That's me.
Okay, well, I think like Neptune and Saturn in the eighth house can definitely bring up some kind of restrictive energy and fears around, shared assets,
Mm,
taxes, merging finances, collaborating with others, being truly seen, being vulnerable, being very authentic. It can also, with Neptune and with Saturn there, it can bring up some skeletons in your closet that need to be aired, that need to be dealt with.
I
And,
like that they need to be aired. I'm gonna quote you on these skeletons that need to be aired. I love it.
I always say to people, everybody has demons. everybody has demons, but not all of us take the demons out of the closet and make them a cup of tea. And this is what Neptune wants you to do.
Yeah.
Neptune wants a cup of tea, and Saturn wants you to kind of, talk to your demons. I
Yeah.
do think the eighth house, okay, I mean, Saturn moving through the eighth house, sometimes it can manifest as, some health issues as well, because you do have Pluto in the sixth house, particularly anything that's hidden, like the internal organs of the body. You want to
Yeah.
make sure everything, and as a woman as well, you want to make sure, you go for regular checkups around your gynecological region. When Saturn and Neptune are going through the eighth house, there can be changes in that sphere of life. There can even just be blockages or delays in that sphere of life. And sometimes I see as well that you might have to go for, some procedures or things like that. But it's nothing to fear, I always say, because Saturn is really supportive energy. And if any health issues arise, it's you have Saturn there is the master healer. You want Saturn working on you if you're sick. This is why I always say to people, when they've Saturn going through their sixth house, don't worry. Like, I'm sure Saturn is going to send you the perfect person if you're patient. But even if it doesn't manifest as a health concern, sometimes it can manifest more as a psychological
Yeah.
transit,
Mm.
where you're asked to face something that's hidden that mightn't be comfortable to face.
Yeah, I highly would suggest that you take some kind of serious, committed research, let's say, on what's bothering you and seek for appropriate assistance. Let's say that way, whatever it is. It's also esoteric house, so if you want to explore that, absolutely. And it's
But
don't
but
cheat.
with caution, but with
Yeah,
caution.
oh
Because
yeah, with caution. Yes,
Because with Saturn,
yes.
let's say you go and you start studying the esoteric. I'm just going to give an example here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you go and you study tarot and you're a Virgo rising and you're totally excited, but you don't study it with a teacher that is reputable or good. Saturn will have consequences if you don't go to the
Yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
person to learn the esoteric. And what will happen is that, you're too open, and then, as a channel, and you get a little bit polluted. This is the eighth house is, this is Hades' house at the end of the day. So we
Mm.
need to kind of have discernment around what we're dabbling with.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. And don't cheat on your taxes because it will backfire. So, you need to pay your taxes in
And
the next
if you're
2 years.
looking for a loan or a mortgage,
Yeah,
expect
yeah.
Saturn to make you jump through
Mhm.
a few hoops.
Yes, yes,
And
delays or yeah.
sometimes there can be inheritances as well. Of course, we have to
Mm,
mention inheritance, but the
yeah,
inheritance
yeah.
might be a bit of a poison chalice with Saturn, in the
Mm,
sense that there could be just so much kind of red tape or paperwork or kind of issues around it. But you have to remember as well, the eighth house is the house of other people's stuff. Other
mm,
people's stuff. It's not always your stuff.
mm.
And sometimes other people's stuff can kind of affect us.
That it can be definitely some issues with your partner's income or how your clients pay you. If your clients are in the seventh house, maybe you're going to have some. You need to also set boundaries and make clearly, how this is going to work. Be sure that you're clear and transparent in your relationships and one-on-one relationships, so they don't backfire.
Exactly.
Definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, very.
Yeah. But it definitely can be a time to deepen your sense of spirituality and wisdom in
Absolutely.
all esoteric matters, particularly astrology or anything that is,
Yeah.
we can't see, but we know it to be true.
Absolutely. Well, I love that. We can see, but we know it's true. I love it. Okay, another cardinal sign. What do we say for Libras? It's
Yeah.
happening in
So
the partner
it's an
house. Yeah.
it's an interesting one for Libras, particularly. I'd be very kind of interested to see how this will pan out, because Libras have had Chiron and Aries, going through their seventh house for a long time now. And now, they have Neptune going through their seventh house. So they're probably in a honeymoon period. And Saturn now is coming. So I think if you've been in a honeymoon period, Saturn is coming for this reality check to your seventh house. Now, if you're in a connection, if you're married, if you're attached, if you're in a relationship, Saturn is a wake up call in some way, shape, or form. And it might not be connected to you. Sometimes it's your partner that gets a wake up call. Chiron as well shows an element of, pain or wounding in the people that we're dealing with in terms of our most intimate relationships. So, your partner or significant other can be going through things. Now, also, if you're single, Neptune can be, oh my God, I met my dream person. And then Saturn can be,
Mm,
oh, wait, yeah, I never saw these red flags. So there's
yes.
an element of, with this, all Libra risings need to be really honest with themselves about their partner and the person they're relating to.
Yeah, I yes, because I know Libras, they want to connect, they want those partnerships. And I'm just thinking about, I know a person who is a Libra rising and she's getting married this year in the fall.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it could be a good thing if you want to commit long term to somebody with the Saturn there. So there's a promise that it's going to be long term. But on the other hand, if maybe you're gonna push somebody to marry you, in a sense, you really want to, and then they're not maybe ready. So you're gonna feel this frustration of, oh, I want it now. I want to get married. I want to have this, this beautiful, So that can be also a situation. Don't force it. Don't push it. It can be,
Yeah, if
especially with,
there's
with
not
Neptune there. Yeah.
yeah, if there's not a label on the relationship, Saturn will ask you to put a label on it. And if the person doesn't want to put a label on the relationship and doesn't want to kind of
Mm,
cement the relationship, that relationship, Saturn will ask you to move away from it. And if you remain in an unhealthy relationship when Saturn moves through your seventh house, healthy
mm.
relationships always survive Saturn in the seventh house. They have
Oh
nothing to
yes.
fear. But unhealthy relationships or relationships that aren't reciprocal or aren't balanced or aren't actually
Mm,
meeting your highest good,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
your highest needs, like Saturn will make it very difficult for you to remain in that relationship. And he will ask you to put yourself first. And, Saturn and
Mm.
Aries will say, is this making you happy?
Mm-hmm. Yes, don't say yes just because of the fantasy of it, because Neptune is there, just because of the fantasy of the marriage or the picture that you have in your head, what the marriages, what the partnerships look like, right? This is also reality check. You know, maybe some of the dreams will be crashed. I have to
Yes.
say it.
I also say as well, if it's not related to your romantic relationships, I definitely see people signing contracts and then maybe
Yes. Yeah.
regretting signing the contracts. So
Mm,
definitely exercise a bit of caution with signing contracts and definitely take time to read over the small print and,
yeah.
have
Mm,
maybe a get out clause, that, oh, I'll trial this for a few months, but I won't commit to it maybe till 2026 because we'll have when Saturn returns to the seventh house we'll have a better idea because Saturn isn't going to retrograde back into your sixth
mm,
house as well. And
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it has to be said as well, Libra risings have been going through kind of challenging work and health
Mm,
astrology for a number of years now. And your relationships affect your health. And sometimes Libra risings can be in denial about that. So if you are in denial about it,
mm,
Saturn's retrograde into the sixth house will really open your eyes around it.
that's a
Particularly,
good
you've
point.
even got unhealthy friendships,
Good point.
any energy vampires in your life.
Oh yes, yeah, good point. Yeah, so just I'll go back to what we said in the beginning. Calculated risks are very, so it's important. If you want to take a risk, yes, but it needs to be calculated. Otherwise, have that in mind. Okay, good luck, Libras, Scorpios. Ooh, let's say, how will this affect the everyday life of Scorpio people?
Yeah, so Scorpio rising has, Neptune now in their sixth house. So I definitely think they're experiencing some kind of what I would call a strange energy around their higher calling in life and, what they're meant to do and their sense of purpose and how they're meant to be of service to the collective. And with Saturn coming in, it can be a reality check around that. What is my higher calling? What is my purpose? And it can be a sense of, I want to do X, Y, and Z, but I need to do A, B, C first.
Uh,
It's like Saturn can be like, well, those dreams are good, but you need to be realistic too about what you can achieve, and you need to take your time. I do see like all Scorpio risings maybe having an energy of maybe having to make a difficult decision, maybe around their career, with that Saturn Neptune. I know it's not going to be a true conjunction, but like they're going to be close enough to make everyone a
This
little bit
summer, yeah, this summer, very
disillusioned.
close. Yeah.
And with Saturn having been in Scorpio rising's fifth house, it gave them a lot of time to really get clear on what their passions are. And if your passions aren't aligned with your career, Neptune and Saturn together will say, nah, this isn't it. Like, it will ask you maybe to make a difficult decision or a sacrifice. Saturn loves a sacrifice.
Yes.
So, and Neptune loves the sacrifice too. So it might ask you to sacrifice something, like momentarily sacrifice your own joy or happiness just for the sake of money or the sake of advancement in your career. And if you do that, which is fine, a lot of us have to do it at some point in life. We have to make decisions that, are because we have to pay our bills, we have to pay our mortgage, or we have to put our children through college or whatnot. There are consequences to, sacrificing your happiness. And
Yeah.
also your health can be the biggest consequence
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that.
yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, I think you need to definitely reshape your daily routines and your habits and diets, even restriction in diets, maybe, like cutting something off that maybe causes you health issues, like too many sweets, too much sugar.
Yes, and I also think anybody that's doing anything to excess, and in the world we live in today, there's more people over working out than there is
Oh,
under
yes.
working out. And if you're working out too much, you're going to get injured with this transit. If you're putting your body through a punishing regime or a punishing diet, you're going to get sick. So Saturn and Neptune will ask you to really kind of look at your routine and your schedule. If you're eating loads of junk food, there'll be consequences. You might be tired all the time. You might need to rest more. If you're working out too much, Saturn and Neptune might ask you, you don't need to work out so much. Maybe you need rest days because your career will be taxing while Saturn is in your sixth house. It's going to tax you, it's going to tax your health, and you need to like get really clear on what your priorities are. Time management will be huge with this one.
Yeah, and when I would watch out for injuries when Mars is in goes to your first house. So when Mars in Scorpio, just watch out for injuries. It can be, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
watch
and
your
we
health
have
in
like
general.
Uranus is in the eighth house as well.
Yes,
So
yeah.
they're in a strange transit for their health with like unexpected things happening. They don't need to be taking risks with their health. It's not the energy for Saturn and Neptune in the sixth house is not the energy for doing anything to
Yeah,
extremes.
yeah. So even if if you feel that something is off, just go and check it out. Don't say, oh, it's
Yes.
nothing. Just be next couple of years, just be aware. This is something is off. This is not my usual self. Go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's I would say that. Thanks, Katrina. Oh, this is you now. What do you have to say for yourself?
It's very hard to be objective for the Sagittarius risings.
Yeah, I know,
So
but
with Saturn and Neptune, in the fifth house, well, if I speak to Neptune first, Neptune will definitely, ask us to prioritize our passions and, the things that make our hearts go on fire and make us come alive. What are your passions? And when was the last time you pursued them? Because a lot of us get so wrapped up with the busyness of our daily life that, we forget to make time for the stuff that fills us with joy. We forget to prioritize joy. And the sad part is that, Neptune is there helping us prioritize joy, but Saturn is coming really fast. And Saturn is going to say, how serious are you about prioritizing your joy and your happiness? And, if you, want to pursue a passion project, Saturn will ask you to make some sacrifice in your life so that you can really like crystallize that passion project. And maybe, when it comes for the 6th house, use that passion project in your career, maybe, get serious about something that used to be a hobby. Because this house rules children, the Sagittarius risings who have children, there can be increased burdens around the children.
Yeah.
The sense
Yeah.
that your children can be pulling on your energy more. And because Neptune is there, you need to have good boundaries with your children, and you need to respect your children's boundaries, which a lot of parents, find difficult to navigate, respecting
Hmm.
their child's boundaries. And then the other thing I would say is, if you're in a relationship, sometimes there can be a bit of disillusionment or a lack of romance when Saturn and Neptune are going through the 5th house. And you might find that you have to work at it. You actually have to plan dates. You have to get your calendars in your diaries and sit down together and you're like, right, Friday
Get on
night
that
is date
app.
night.
Yeah, you have to get on that app and swipe left, right, whatever. I don't know how it goes,
Yeah,
but
if you're single, but if
yeah,
you're
yeah,
if you're in a relationship, you need to actually plan dates with your significant
yeah,
other
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
prioritize romance. And if you're single, you do need to get out there, whether it's
Uh-huh.
apps or whether it's in person. I do
Yeah.
think because Sagittarius risings have Aries on the Aries on the 5th house, sporting events, concerts,
Yes.
things where there's live action are the best places for them to meet people. I always feel like actually being out and being active. But yeah, apps as well are great. Anything, as long as you have good boundaries and you're discerning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. And with Uranus in your 7th house, if you're in a relationship, it's good that you spice it up a little bit, do something adventurous, something different, something that you never did before with your partner. And if you are single, you just might meet somebody unexpectedly in these events.
Yeah.
But you
And
can be
with
older
Uranus,
or younger. You can be
yeah,
older or younger, seven
with
years
your
older or something.
Uranus too, it mightn't promise
Mm.
longevity, Uranus in the 7th house,
Mm.
but it can promise as well, if you're in an existing relationship, it can promise that your partner is going through some change
Mm.
that really affects you. And sometimes, if you're in a relationship that isn't good for you, Uranus in the 7th house can create a kind of an abrupt departure. So, healthy relationships don't need to worry, but established relationships might have to navigate some changes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Saturn in the 5th, it can be, maybe you can take one of your hobbies more seriously and start, doing it more, in a more serious manner, more responsible, or if you are
Yeah.
just enjoying some things, maybe you take it a notch, a level up and, take it more. So
And
that could be option.
Jupiter is going to be in the 8th house. So I do think
Yeah.
Sagittarius risings, if they want a baby, I do think
Yeah.
Saturn and
Hmm.
Jupiter together, in those houses can definitely be a bit fertile. There's consequences to promiscuity with this one. So
But
just be
even
careful.
I know, but even when Jupiter goes into Leo in next year, right? It's still very very kind of I don't know. I
Yeah,
like it.
fertile energy.
Yeah, it's creative, right? As well. So
Definitely.
that's
Yeah.
2 years of actually 2 years of creativity here and fertility.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean when Jupiter goes into Leo, I think it's going to be great. It's going to make a trine with Saturn, ruling your it's going to be like this beautiful, fiery energy. I think it's going to be excellent with Saturn when Jupiter goes into Leo
I'll
next year.
hold you to that, Jasmina.
Yes, no, but listen, look at this. I mean, I love it. You have Neptune and Saturn here making a trine to Jupiter.
If only I didn't have an Aries moon and want it done yesterday.
Yes, that's another thing. I know. I understand. Anyway.
Yeah, I think there might be some frustration for Sagittarius risings around being patient, particularly ones that have been patient for a long time. But look, it
Yeah.
is what it is. We can't fight the astrology.
Yeah, all of us who have anything in Aries, this will be more frustrating. If you have
Mhm.
Sun, Moon, Rising, whatever, any planet, personal planet in Aries, it can be like that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
only have,
Chiron is still in Aries too.
yes, yeah, that's also truth. Yeah, I only have South Node in Aries, but I can feel it when I'm overwhelmed. The worst of Aries comes, from me. I'm just like, ah, yeah.
Yeah, all Aries need to scream into the void once a week in order to stay sane.
Yes, that's absolutely truth. Oh, I have to send you something. I have to send you something. Remind me later. Okay. Something about screaming. Okay. Capricorns. Let's go.
Capricorn's this fourth house transit. So
Yes.
yeah, this is definitely it can be a transit. Well, first of all, with Neptune, it can be a transit of, creating your dream home. But with Saturn, there can be structural changes involved,
Hmm.
or there can be sacrifices, and there can also be the energy of, having to do a lot of work on your home, or your home taking your physical structure of your home taking up a lot of energy. Now, if it's not your physical home, it can be the energy of your family needing you more, or feeling
Hmm.
quite overburdened, particularly around maybe looking after
Yeah, I was
elderly
gonna say.
children,
Yeah.
elderly
Yeah.
relatives.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it can be younger children too, but like it can be elders a lot of the time. And it can, I'm not going to lie, Saturn in the fourth house, I think it's one of the more difficult transits. It can be a period of kind of a bit more loneliness, because you might feel that for some reason, Saturn has grounded you at home. He has made you stay at home more than you want to be at home.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we often see this in women that might have to take a hiatus for childcare, or people that have to take time off to
Mm,
mind elders, or people that have to work really hard, or people that can't afford a holiday because they have some other financial
mm,
commitments. And you see, Pluto is in Capricorn risings, second house. So there's issues going on with finances
yeah.
that are kind of grounding, Capricorn risings at the moment in the fourth house. But it can be a transit that can signify a bit of loneliness. So with Neptune here, it's really important to be creative at home and to be productive with that time you
Mm,
have at home. And rather than seen as a period of, less socializing or more hermiting, see it as a period of, working on your talents, working on your passions, honing
mm,
your skills. I'm currently in a Saturn fourth house transit. I have done so much work to my physical home. I have
mm,
put in place so many boundaries with my family and my parents. I
mm-hmm.
have reduced a lot of time I spend with my family. I used to be always very available for them. I've cut back on it loads. I've had to be at home more because I've had deliveries of items to my home. I have
Okay.
found as well, a cosmic navigator says with this one, you have to sleep more. And I didn't believe him
Mm,
until Saturn came from my fourth house, and I felt tired and I felt I needed to sleep. So actually do prioritize rest with this, because I have
mm.
never rested as much in my life as I have done
That's
since Saturn
good.
in my fourth.
That's good. And it was in Pisces, so it's kind of even more sleepy, I feel.
Sleep as well. So with Aries, it might be
Yeah.
more the energy of frustration that things aren't happening
Yeah.
fast enough in the home. I'm going to have to get
Yeah.
my charger.
I'm also thinking with because Capricorns are so work oriented and career oriented. This I feel like it could be home responsibilities or something that some obligations that Katrina mentioned towards your family and home
Yes.
will pull you off from their work, and that's going to be frustration because you really want to go back work and make money and have this reputation and whatever, right? So I think the responsibilities and obligations from home just make you more frustrated, and you want to just, oh come on, like I want to finish this, I just want to go back to work, kind of a situation. So that
Yeah.
can really happen with you. Yeah,
And
a
I
lot.
think it's a lovely transit as well to set up like an ancestor altar. If
Oh,
you're into that
I
kind of
love
thing.
it.
And it's a
I
lovely
love that.
transit as well to kind of chat more to your ancestors and to invoke them, if you believe in that, and to look to older figures like elders,
Ma,
for wisdom. I spent a lot of the time at home watching
mm,
older astrologers and learning from them.
that's excellent. Do you feel that some karmic events from ancestry can come up with Saturn going through your fourth house? Did you experience that or no?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I
Mm.
definitely did. It was my first time doing a shamanic journey, and
Wow.
my Saturn was in my fourth house. And in the shamanic journey, I met with my grandfather and my great grandfather.
Oh my God, you gave me goosebumps.
Yeah,
Ooh.
so you've just reminded me of all the stuff I've done since Saturn
Yes.
was in my
So,
fourth
so
house.
that's yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe that's a nice way out for Capricorns to release that energy in a more positive way. I like that.
Yes.
Very good.
But
Oh,
be careful with all those things, as I always say. Be
I don't know.
careful, be
Yeah.
discerning.
Neptune is there. Yeah. Neptune is
Because
there.
Neptune
So
and Saturn
yeah,
are co-present. Saturn is always
yeah,
like, be careful, be careful. I've had Neptune,
yeah.
in my fourth house for a long time, and I've kind of learned the hard way that I need to be discerning about, the
Yeah.
people I go to, etc.
Yeah. That's right. Neptune is. Oh yeah, yeah. I like that. Okay, Aquarius. What do we feel for Aquarius? Is because Saturn is also their ruler. As we forgot to mention that Capricorn, Saturn rules Capricorn, so they're gonna feel it even more personally.
Yeah.
And so will Aquarius.
I think
It's
Aquarius is going to be really relieved to have Saturn out of their second house, even if it's
yeah,
just for a few months this year, because it's a
yeah.
horrible transit
Mm,
financially. You're penny
mm,
pinching, you're saving, you're
mm,
begging and borrowing, and sometimes there's big financial commitments you have to make, and you have
mm,
to make sacrifices. So with Saturn in the third house, it can kind of be just like a temporary relief of that financial pressure. And
mhm,
also I find with Saturn in the third house, it's a time of study, it's a time of learning, it's a time of
mhm,
getting really inspired. I think I took my first formal astrology classes when Saturn was in my third house. And I really felt like, it was a time where I was starting to get serious with my learning. And also, I was kind of establishing lifelong friendships. I didn't realize that at the time, people that I would
mhm.
communicate with quite frequently. And I also found that with Saturn in my third house, that I didn't have as much time to reply to people. Like I used to be one of those people that replied instantly on WhatsApp,
Yeah.
and then Saturn came into my third house, and you could be waiting 2 to 3 business days for a reply. A mother came to
I
me
know.
once. She was really worried about her son in college, and she said, I'm worried about him because he's not contacting me. And I was like, oh, okay, let's have a look at his chart. And he had Saturn going through his third house. And I explained to her
Uh,
it's temporary because he had previously been really good to stay in contact. And I just said, with Saturn in his third house, he doesn't have the bandwidth for a lot of
that is so
communication.
interesting. That is so interesting. I never thought of it that way. That is so interesting. Yeah,
Mm,
but it's a good if you want to start a blog or write a book or a novel or something. If you want to commit to your writing or commit to something that you want to how you would communicate with others or something, it's a great opportunity because Neptune is also there, so it gives you that creative expression a little bit, right? Something, and Aquarius likes to be unique and different, so like a unique expression of themselves, right? So
yeah,
give
especially
it
on
the
social media, you can really
yeah,
kind of dream big with this one. But then, like,
yeah,
remember the cause and effect principle that, anything you say or do on social
mhm,
media or even on WhatsApp, or
yeah,
Snapchat or
yeah.
any of those apps has consequences. So you kind of you will speak less with this.
Mhm.
You'll be less chatty, less communicative, and you'll listen more with this. It's a
Ah, I
real
like that.
listening transit.
I love that. That is so beautiful. Yes, I love it. I mean, with Uranus in the fifth, there can be some, creative ideas as well. That's why I feel that it can be it can be very creative, and then seven can give you discipline to actually go through it and pursue that creative expression as well. So,
Yeah, and unexpected love affairs, unexpected romance
mhm,
too, with Uranus
yeah,
in the fifth.
yeah. Also, with Saturn the third, it can be some obligations. Maybe your siblings will come up with some stuff
Mm,
that you need to kind of,
yeah,
deal with
definitely.
that you don't want to, especially if you have a big family. This is not just siblings, but extended family, your aunts and uncles and your cousins. So if you have a big family, this could be like obligations, and you as an Aquarius risings, you don't want this. I have to go to the first communions or baptisms or weddings, all these social gatherings with family. Like I just don't want to be
Mm,
home and leave me alone. So
yeah,
it can feel like that
there,
as well.
there can be a lot of that. And I think
Yeah.
as well, one last thing I'll say is that with Saturn in the third house, you need to allow more time for short journeys. And it's horrible, especially if you're
Mm,
someone that loves zipping around everywhere. But you'll find that
yeah.
short journeys, you're going to meet roadworks. Saturn is going to make travel difficult. Even if you're
Yeah. Oh, car
traveling abroad and
troubles.
you're getting trains or buses, you're
Yeah,
just going to have
car
to plan
troubles.
it really well.
I was thinking about car troubles or transportation troubles, car
Yeah, there
breaking
can be
down.
issues around car or,
Mm,
all of those things when Saturn is in the third house,
some,
unfortunately. And
some,
Neptune can be the sale of a car as well, or like it can be like the liquidization of an asset, you know.
Yeah.
Third house tends to be a car,
No,
unfortunately.
I would, yeah, but interesting with Neptune there, I would also avoid boats. You know, like when you go to some cities, like you go to London and there's a boat on Thames or something. Yeah, I would avoid all those kind of
Yeah,
journeys on
definitely,
rivers.
because yeah, you just want to kind of exercise a bit more caution around all of those things for the time being. Like it
Yeah,
won't
yeah.
be forever, but just even while Saturn is there in the third house, just to kind of be discerning, make sure that, you know, all your vehicles are roadworthy, make sure the
Yes.
boat has, you know, life
Yeah.
jackets, all
Yeah.
of those things.
Well, I like the life jackets. I love that. Like necessary equipment.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
you
I
want to
love
make
it.
sure. Yeah,
I love it.
Aries, you're going to have to jump out fast.
Yes. I love this. This is crazy. I think it's not that bad for Aquarius, to be honest. I think you guys can handle it. You're very smart,
No,
kind of. Yeah,
third house Saturn and Neptune, you know,
yeah,
it's not angular, so it will be fine.
yeah.
I think the big story really for Aquarius rising is, you know, that Pluto, you know, going through their first house, like they're on a deep journey of transformation. And
Yeah.
Saturn is just kind of like a side player almost in that journey, you know.
But you know what I'm kind of also thinking. You know how Aquarius, they can be very opinionated, right? They're very smart. They have strong opinions. So this can, people not listening to them or not taking them seriously in a way, or some kind of miscommunication when they got
Mhm.
authority, or somebody else having authority in the communication in that sense, and they don't like it. They like to be right. I know this.
Yeah,
So there can
yeah.
be some in just everyday communication, some issues with people, and you're just getting into arguments and be frustrating because people are not listening to you or not hearing you properly. That can be a lot of that just every day. Okay. And little Pisces, poor Pisces, always at the end, the most patient sign in the zodiac. They always come to the end and they're happy that we are there. Okay. What do we have to say for
So
Pisces?
Pisces rising, like I think Pisces rising is about to make like a big expenditure. If they haven't done so already, you know, with Neptune and Saturn in the second house, it can be, you know, taking out a loan and then like you have the loan repayments. It can be like saving the money and then applying for the loan. Particularly with Saturn and Neptune here, there can just be, you know, feeling the pinch financially. You have a dream of some asset you want to possess
Mm,
with Neptune in the second house, but Saturn says you want to possess it, well, you need to be disciplined. Are you saving? And
mm,
there can sometimes be, you know, applying for a loan here and being refused the loan application because they look at your spending habits and they say,
yeah.
oh, no, 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 like you did this and you did that and you spent this much money in a bar and you spent that much money here and you were on a gambling website, yada yada yada. Saturn wants you to keep your spending habits squeaky clean and disciplined and have a budget and to be saving every month, you know, so that you can make these loan repayments, so that you can get granted, you know, loan approval. That's sometimes how it can manifest. Now it can also manifest as, you know, dreaming of earning money in a more holistic, spiritual way, or dreaming of being your own boss. Because Pisces rising
Mm,
is very sensitive. And
yeah.
Pisces rising, even though they're these lovely, gentle, creative, spiritual creatures who like can be chameleon like and get along with everyone, you know, they're best, they operate at their highest frequency when nobody else is interfering with their energy or polluting them, is what I call it, because
Mm,
Pisces gets polluted by other people. And you know, Neptune will make them dream of being self-employed, or dream of being their own boss, or dream of being in
mm,
management, or dream of like having complete autonomy in their workplace. Their boss doesn't bother them. They get to stay, you know, in their own lovely energy bubble all day with nobody irritating them. And Saturn might be a reality check around that, or Saturn might be like, yes, you can have that, but you need to take a pay cut if you want to do that. So there is an element of sacrifice here around money. It's either
yeah.
related to applying for a loan, or it's either related to income, or maybe both.
Yeah, I'm feeling that, because there's Pisces can be so out there and escape from the realities of life or harshness of life, that this is some kind of a a groundingness aspect, or a reality check-in, like check, because Saturn will tell them, look, you are still living in a material world. You cannot avoid your financial responsibilities. You need to pay your bills. You need to pay your rent. You need more your mortgage, right? You can't just fly away and disperse all your money, which they probably will want to with this Neptune here as well. Like, oh, like it can just, they earn and then it all goes away. So they will need to definitely to look on their balance, how they work with their finances and incomes. And there might be the money might be tighter, but the dreams are going to be big. So that's going to be like a little bit. And with the Uranus in the fourth, they might say, oh, just unexpectedly decide to buy a house or to renovate a home or so and spend more money just because, oh, this is so lovely, I want to have this. So I think they can maybe over romanticize their finances, if that makes sense, like thinking that it's better than it is. Or, oh, it's not bad, I have enough, and they don't really. So I would suggest that you actually find a financial advisor who can help you in the next couple of years to go and help you, guide you with your finances. Because you might not be able to discern, how to work with it.
Yeah,
There
if
you
you
go.
want to buy a house, go to an experienced, Saturn
Yes,
wants them to be experienced mortgage broker.
I
And,
love that.
we have a saying as well. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it in Canada, but we say that, the money burnt a hole in his pocket. Have you ever heard that expression?
Not that one, but something in that sense. Yeah, I understand what
Yeah,
it
so
means.
like,
Yes.
with Neptune and Saturn and Aries here in the second house, the money can burn a hole in your pocket in that it's gone instantly.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
Saturn and Neptune will swallow up your money. They'll
Yeah.
swallow it up, and there will be some unforeseen expense. It's like you start a home renovation, with Uranus in your fourth house, and then you realize, oh God, there's a leak, with
Or
Neptune or something.
yes.
And
Or
then you
or
have to do a bigger
yeah.
job.
Or you ran out of funds in the middle of it, and then you have like all this, half done job, which is the worst, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I suppose if we consider that the second house is also the house of values,
Yeah.
because not everyone is going to be applying for a
Yeah.
loan
Yeah.
or changing
Yeah.
their work. With Neptune in the second house, there is going to be some disillusionment and a reordering around what are my values? Like, what do I truly value in life? What do I stand for? Like, what's important to me? Like, what is like more important to me than money? Because
Ah.
second house is money and everything we value. So like, if you wrote down all the things you value and all your assets, then like if you wrote down on another side of the page, what are the things I value that there is no price on, that are priceless in my life? And there can be some questioning or disillusionment around that. Like, your values can change over the next
Yeah.
decade.
Yeah.
And with
Yeah.
Saturn coming in, there probably will be lessons around some of your values too.
Mm-hmm.
Saturn will be like, that thing you place such a high value on, that was a misdirected value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
I
if you don't love yourself, or if you lack self love, this is a real coming of age transit, Saturn through your second house of,
yeah.
you need to love yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And I'm going to keep sending you people who don't love you and who
Oh,
treat you badly until you start to
oh
assert
my God.
yourself, Pisces rising, and act like someone who loves themselves.
Oh boy. Poor Pisces. Yes. Okay. And then be careful when Mars is in Aries and goes through a second house. It's going to be double whammy of everything that we just
Double
mentioned. So
impulsivity around
yes.
spending.
Yeah. So
And
just
like,
watch out.
an important question for Pisces risings to ask themselves over the next 2 to 3 years is, what would someone who loves themselves do? Anytime they're
Mm,
faced with a question around, oh God, like, should I take that person back? Should I allow that
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
disrespect at work? Should I lend that money to that family member, when I can't afford it? If you truly love yourself, you have really good boundaries around your values and around your money.
That's true. That's true. Well, we will end in this note. I think this was amazing. Thank you so much, Katrina. I love it. I love it. This was more than I anticipated. Great
Thanks so much.
advice.
I loved it too. I'm so sorry my laptop camera wouldn't work and I had to
I
do like an
know.
Aries. I had to do an Aries on it.
But you did great. I mean, I think the message is out there, and I think what people are heard, that it's going to be useful for them to navigate them in the next couple of years. Before we close, tell people where they can find you. I put everything, all the links below. But what are you offering now? I know you're going through some changes. Tell us more. What is happening,
Yeah,
and what
so
do we
people
have?
can find me mainly over at Caitriona Astro on Instagram. That's my home. I'm also on TikTok at Caitriona Astro, and you can find me as well on YouTube at Caitriona Astro. I'm promising everyone that I'm going to actually invest in a proper YouTube camera and launch myself on YouTube this summer. There's a few videos up there, but I need to get bigger on that platform. So if anybody wants to thank me, please just subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and that's the biggest thank you could give. And I'm currently selling a guide on my website, where you know, it's self-paced, self-taught. You can teach yourself with little instructional videos around the elements. And I'm releasing new readings, you know, in the summertime. I'm going to have a better, more equitable system because I currently don't have availability. I'm going to just release my readings on a monthly basis, Jasmina, so that
Good.
I don't get booked out in advance anymore. And so that I can kind of control my schedule too, because as a Sagittarius rising, like it's hell for me to be booked out months in advance because I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm doing tomorrow, never mind like 6 months later.
I love that. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, book a reading, Katrina, is excellent. I'm currently, and unfortunately, because of some circumstances, I need to postpone my course to for September. Anyway,
Oh,
yeah, something came up, and I just can't
is
commit to
that
8 weeks.
which course, is this the teaching course you were going to do? Is
Yes,
it?
yes, I was doing the personalized teaching course. Anyway, I
That
cannot
is
commit.
very Mars and Saturn conjunction.
It's definitely my life, my story. You have to delay. Nothing can happen the way I
Probably
want it
just
when I
need,
want it.
I must look at your transits someday, Jasmina, just informally, and we must see like when is a good time for you
Yes,
to launch
yeah,
this because
yes.
yeah.
Well, it's on me. I launched it during the retrogrades. I was so excited, but nevertheless,
Yeah, yeah, maybe,
it is
yeah,
what it is.
yeah, yeah. That's Saturn now saying, why did you launch that during the retrograde?
See, I know everything in theory, but when it comes to me, I can guide everybody else, but when it comes to me,
We're
so
all the same.
nevertheless,
Yeah.
yes, I this is postponed for September. You can send me a DM or go to my website to see, send me an email or DM me.
So the
But
course starts in September, Jasmina.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
that's not
yes.
too bad. That's not too bad. It's close enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's close enough. So after summer, we can start a fresh new year there. But before that, if anybody's interested, I'm so excited. I'm doing a talk for ESAR. That's going to be on June 15th. 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The topic is the art of strategic thinking when Mercury meets Pallas Athena. I'm very excited to share the topic. So if you are a member, it's free. If you're not, you can register. Link is also below. I also open for readings. I do live readings, so I always accommodate. I try to as much as I can. Thank you very much. This was very good. I'm going to take a walk and embrace this new moon in Taurus with a nature walk because that's my ritual for this new moon in Taurus. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Katrina. I hope you're gonna do this more often. I know you're Sagittarius rising, but if you want to catch up on
Yeah,
anything that is
definitely. We
interesting,
must. It was brilliant. There's so much to talk about.
yeah, I'm gonna be in Europe again this summer,
Oh,
July and
wow.
August. So we're gonna be closer in time difference, so we can maybe meet online. Or if you are
Definitely.
climbing, or if you're gonna climb through Croatia somewhere, let me know. I'll find on which mountain you are, and I'll find you.
That would be great. Well, I am hoping to do Mount Olympus this summer in Greece, and
Oh yeah,
I'll
yeah, you
see
told me.
then. Maybe North Macedonia, but I need to get my itinerary and get my funds in order. Once Saturn gets out of my fourth house, it might get easier, Jasmina.
Yeah,
My
just be
wings have been
careful.
clipped.
Just be careful with Saturn Aries on the mountain sides. Okay, that's all.
I will. I promise. Promise.
Okay, bye.